Janet frequently has me practice the word no in front of the mirror at night. Truth be told. So today our club has heard some things about Waveny over time, and this project in particular, but I thought I would do a quick, for those of you that haven't had the background, give a quick reason for how we got to where we are today, and then take a look at some exciting stuff happening at our campus on 3 Farm Road, and we'll talk about how we're going to accomplish all that we have going on. So a quick look back, as Tom mentioned, Tom was board chair. He passed the baton to Kathleen, who passed the baton to me as board chair. So for 6 years, Rotary members have chaired Waveny LifeCare. So there's a lot of ties between the club and Waveny. But during the pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, we engaged a professional strategic planning firm to do a really thoughtful look at what senior healthcare would look like post-pandemic. It was sort of an unknown time. A lot of things had changed. A lot of things have changed in the healthcare world. And kind of 3 things in hindsight came out of that. One was that there was an acute shortage of short-term rehab rooms. As healthcare has evolved and changed over time, a lot of procedures happen in the hospital setting. And between insurance companies and payment systems, their goal is to get you out of the hospital as quick as possible. And frequently, people are not ready to just go home on their own, so they need a stay at a short-term rehab facility. When Waveny was built in the mid-1977, this was not really a trend, and so the number of beds in the facility for short-term rehab are limited. There's 12 private short-term rehab rooms right now, and I think 14 semi-private rooms. So, and capacity is always an issue. Every day, Russ Barksdale, the CEO, gets phone calls from probably multiple people, literally every single day of the week. If you can imagine, someone in the local area who's got a loved one who needs, they're at the hospital and they're checking them out and they need to go to a short-term rehab. And it's like a Rubik's Cube. Every day there's 1 or 2 beds that open up, but there's 5 or 6 people that need them. And it's figuring out how to fit in there. So that was a definite need. There was a nursing shortage. If you think about the pandemic, a lot of people left the nursing profession out of stress during those years. Maybe retired early or just left. There was traveling nurses going all over the country and a real shortage of skilled nursing staff. And then a simple fact that was not really pandemic related, but medical advances had helped people live longer than they might have expected. And even in a wealthy town like New Canaan, there are people that have been outliving their life savings. And Waveny, as a nonprofit, has a mission to take care of anyone once they're inside the network. And so we're every year providing health care gratis to people that have outlived their savings. So those are sort of 3 key drivers that cause us to take a look at how to evolve. So as I prepared for this yesterday, I realized how tied our club is. I mentioned Tom and Kathleen and myself, but I can't think of 2 organizations that have as much crossover as ours does. So just a quick show of hands, who here has served on the Waveny board at any time? It's like a lot of people, right? Who's volunteered at Waveny? Even more. Who's visited a loved one at Waveny? Who stayed overnight? No. Who knows someone who has used Waveny services? I suspect it's almost virtually everyone in the room. And finally, who would like to know that Waveny will be there for them and their loved ones in the future? So I'm guessing that's everyone. We are so fortunate to have a healthcare facility like Waveny right in our backyard. So what most people know of Waveny as is the campus on Farm Road below the high school. The care center has 76 beds for short-term rehab and skilled nursing, and then the village has about 44 beds for memory care. But Waveny also operates the inn behind St. Mark's on Oak Ridge, and then through visiting nurse and hospice cares for about over 900 people on a weekly basis around Fairfield County. So all in all, Waveny touches about 1,000 people every week in terms of healthcare. So the main goal of our project is the campus on Farm Road. About 2.5, 3 years ago, we engaged Amenta Emma Architects. We went through a P&Z process and got approval in February 25. We spent the last year finalizing the construction drawings and bidding and everything. And as of a few weeks ago, actually started work. So I figure this is a quick tour of what's going on right now. If you've been in the parking lot, one thing you'll notice if you go as a visitor these last few weeks, you drive into the Waveny parking lot, and all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, there's parking here. What happened? Well, all of our employees are parking up at the pool pavilion parking lot and getting shuttled to work now, starting a few weeks ago. So for now, there's been an excess of parking. Over the next 2 years, as this project unfolds, the on-site parking will shrink. It'll open up a little, it'll contract. It's going to go through a few phases. But that was the first thing the construction trailer arrived. If you went in the driveway and took a right, there's a small parking lot on the right side as you go in the driveway. At the end of that parking lot, there's some work that's been done already, some trees taken down. If you see that dirt road sort of made, that's ultimately going to be a retaining wall built around that curve and brought up to the elevation of where the buildings are. There'll be a lot of water retention infrastructure that goes in the ground, and then that'll be filled in, and eventually it'll become a new parking lot. There'll be 45 more parking places around the front here. This room currently is outpatient. It's been the outpatient rehab, which is, again, immediately on the right as you pull up to the care center. That's the only part of the current building that's going to be taken down. That's going to be removed. Actually, next Tuesday, I think they're demolishing that. There's been a new temporary wall put up inside there. So that will come down. The drive-in overhead canopy, the entrance to the care center, is going to come off, and then that'll stay for another couple months. But the new building is going to start basically right there and extend across the front of where the village entrance is. For the next 2 months, starting in about a week, if you go to the care center, there's going to be a temporary entrance just on the very left edge of the picture there. There's a couple of glass doors. That's been the employee entrance. That's going to be the new temporary entrance to go to the care center. There's a reception desk that's been put in there, and that'll be the entrance until probably late July, and I'll explain the cadence of what's happening. The village entrance will stay the same until the same late July timeframe. If you went around the building all the way to the other side, behind the village, this is all the way to the left if you're facing the building. On the back, there's an area that's been known as Claire's Garden that the fence has been moved in a little bit, and where you see that dirt and the excavator, the parking is going to be extended eventually through that area. But for now, during construction, there's going to be a circular drive there, and that'll be the temporary entrance to the village starting in late July or early August. This is the site plan during the core of construction. The orange area is going to be cordoned off, so all that space will lose the parking there. And if you see on the bottom part of the photo there is a gray sort of circular curved area. That's a new driveway, temporary driveway that's going to work for 18 months during construction, and that circular area on the right side will be the entrance to the care center. So you're going to enter the care center around the back. There'll be a temporary entrance there's a little blue shaded area there. So rather than entering in the care center right now, you're entering here. You'll use the same driveway, come up around, and enter here to visit anyone in the care center. There'll be probably a few parking places around there, but limited. And most of the visitor parking will be all the way over to the left. So there'll be a little more walking for visiting in reality. And then you see the top shaded gray area is another circular drive. That's, again, the temporary entrance for the village. And that'll be in place, those two entrances will be in place from approximately August 1st this summer through November of 2027. So about a year and a half, almost a year and a half. So what's to come? This will be the new face of Waveny as you pull in the driveway from Farm Road. This is a new addition with 30 private short-term rehab rooms on the second floor. And if you see right in the middle of the photo, there's like an indented curve underneath the building. That's the new entryway. And there'll be a single entrance for the whole campus. So cars can pull in under that, drop someone off, or there'll be walkways both sides to the new parking area all the way to the right, or the existing parking to the left. The center part of that first floor is glass on the front and glass on the back. So you'll actually look through glass and you'll see a garden in between this new building and the current building. And the next shot is the new lobby. So as you walk in, you'll enter on the right side there. Be a little seating area, reception desk on the right side. There's some offices through that door by the green wall there, but where those couple people are standing is a glass hallway that'll connect you back to the existing building. And you would basically go through that hallway and go straight ahead to go to the village, to visit someone at the village, or you'd go through that hallway and take a right and go down the hallway to visit anyone at the care center. So there'll be one point of entry. And then if you came in the lobby here and you took a left, you would face this way and go down the hall. Just on the left, there's an elevator bank to go upstairs to the new rooms. You can see the back part of the glass wall and sort of the gardens there. And then on the second floor, this is the nursing station in the center, and then there's patient rooms up and down the hallway on both sides. And then this is what one of the new rooms will look like. They're designed to be less medically appearing and more like a step closer to home. The beds are really advanced. They're pretty cool. They actually dock into the wall, so there's not a lot of wires hanging off the bed, or most of the medical devices are built into that head wall, and they come out on the side. So it won't look, hopefully they won't look industrial or too clinical. There's a 3-person couch at the foot of the bed that's a pull-out couch, so a loved one could stay over if they'd like. There's a couple-person table and a recliner in the corner for patients, and each room has a bathroom. These rooms are bigger than any of the current rooms at Waveny. So we expect that with adding 30 private rooms and based on the cadence of short-term rehab, it'll be at least 400 additional area residents will be able to take advantage of Waveny's short-term rehab each year. So it's a huge increase in, it's almost doubling the number of short-term rehab beds, and it's 250% more private rooms than Waveny has had. Putting those photos together, this is a quick little video tour of what it's going to feel like. Sorry, I don't think we're going to get sound. Let's see if I can. Nope. Oh well. Had some nice music in. Oh, there we go. I'll start it over again. You can get an idea. So that's an exciting look at what's to come. It's going to take, whoop, sorry, skip ahead. So I have been asked, how are we making this whole thing become a reality? And
That's my question.
the answer is, it's been a challenge to not only work with the site. Waveny has more property than you might realize that was deeded by Ruth Lapham, Lloyd Lapham, and it's about 15 or 16 acres, but half of it is considered wetland. So a lot of the woods between the existing Waveny building and right here at Lapham Community Center is considered wetlands. So we couldn't go back with this building, and figuring out how to fit something on the site was work. The cost of construction, as you might imagine, in the last couple of years with tariffs and everything else, as we went through the budget process, we kept trying to keep it in check. We've able to reach contracts that keep us right at our budget, but we are financing part of this project, and we're looking to raise private capital, private philanthropy to cover a good chunk of it as well. So there's three pieces to our what we call Build, Care, Protect fundraising campaign, which our own Kathleen Corbett is chairing and doing an amazing job at. Thank you, Kathleen. And this stems back to the beginning, to those three real like community needs that we identified in that strategic planning. Adding the 30 private short-term rehab rooms, we're looking to raise $11 million towards the building project. And as I said, it'll double, nearly double Waveny's private short-term rehab beds and allow over 400 area residents to access Waveny's care. And then the nursing school, which Kathleen was also instrumental in getting started under her term as board chair. When Waveny was faced with such an acute nursing shortage and was seeing, we had a presentation just a few months ago about the nursing school, I think. So it's been an amazing success story, and it's been transformative to so many lives of the students that have enrolled in the school, plus the folks that have been the recipients of their care. But we had a state grant and private philanthropy that got that program launched and started and covered the cost for the first few years. We're at the point where we need to increase the endowment to keep that going, so we're looking to raise $2 million towards that. If you recall, the secret sauce of that program is that we hire students and pay them full-time to actually come to school. So they don't have to give up their day job. They actually get a new job. They go through all the background checks and everything up front, and they actually go to school and they're being paid as if they were working. So that's where the seed money for endowing the nursing school goes towards those early salaries when they're not being necessarily a productive employee yet. But it's been great. It's really worked, and it's turned people's lives around. So, and then the last thing relates to the longevity of people's lives. Waveny spends about $3+ million a year on quote unquote scholarship or charity care as people's financial needs wane, and we have a goal to add a couple $1 million towards that endowment to keep that going. So it's a $15 million campaign. Very, very pleased to say that we're looking at a public groundbreaking for the new building the end of May, and we are, I think we can publicly say, even though this isn't public knowledge yet, so it's inside this room, but we're at over 80% of our goal with the incredible generosity of a few key, really, really key donors, but 100% of our board has participated, 100% of management, and there's been really strong support for this program. And the way I look at this, another tie to Rotary, Waveny, this is the third major phase of Waveny's physical footprint. The first was in the mid-'70s when the care center was conceived and funds raised. That was one of the early impetuses for the foundation, the formation of the New Canaan Community Foundation, because they were raising money for That was one of the first big projects that the Community Foundation helped support. And then about 25 years later, around 2000, the idea of adding memory care came about, and our own Mike Hobbs, my Rotary mentor, Scott's dad, was the building committee chair for the Village project. And now 25 years later, we're looking to add these rooms. And this project will also do some other improvements to the rest of the campus, some improvements to airflow, HVAC, maybe not as sexy as the new building, but trying to improve the rest of the facility at the same time. So I view this as our generation's chance to impact the next 25 years of healthcare in New Canaan. So I close with, we need you. If anyone, I know we're very fortunate that there's many people in this room that have already participated in our campaign, but if anyone is inclined, we would love to talk to you about it. And with that, I'll just open it up to questions. Anyone have, Ben?
Is Waveny a nonprofit?
It is. Waveny is a 501c3 nonprofit.
One of the few.
Yeah, one of the few. It's very, Waveny is, as I've gotten to know it, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion, because there's so many layers to what the Waveny LifeCare Network, or the continuum of care that's offered, and there's such a differentiator, not only the number of different services that Waveny can provide throughout as touch points, but also the fact that it's a nonprofit. And that is, when you compare that to most any other facility in the area, there's been a lot of senior living facilities built in and around Fairfield County. There hasn't been, we need more choices, because there isn't enough places for seniors to stay in our area. But when people do decide to stay, there's places, and I hate calling out names, but I have to use some, like Maplewoods of the world, Altria, they're all, or Atria, they're part of for-profit REITs that own those facilities. And I can tell you that one of the other calls that Waveny frequently gets is from a loved one who has someone living at one of those places that says, I just got a call, this place has given my parents 30 days to vacate, their healthcare needs have escalated, or their financial resources have waned, one of those two things. And they're calling Waveny to try to get that person moved into Waveny. And that's a really hard challenge for us, because Waveny has no problem taking care of someone that's been in the network for a long time, but the nonprofit can't support just taking on people when they're absolutely end of their rope. So when you need health care or start thinking about it for loved ones, that's a really important aspect to think about, is what's not only their needs today, but what are the potential needs down the road, and how does it evolve? So John.
Is there a preference for New Canaan residents, and how do I get on the waiting list?
So, my honest answer is, legally, there's not allowed to be a preferential list, but in reality, relationships and connections matter. So, but the only part of Waveny that does have a waiting list is the long-term care, the really long-term care, because there's a limited number of beds, and those don't turn over very often. And so there is a list that's probably 2.5 years on average, I'd say, wait list. Most of the people on that list are currently in the Waveny LifeCare Network at some level. They could be receiving home care, and they just say, you know what, put my name on the list just in case. A lot of people are on that list, and unfortunately, they never need to use that, or fortunately, however way you look at it. Either their health stays great and they can stay living independently, or unfortunately, they pass away in other circumstances and they never need that care. But otherwise, the need for short-term rehab is literally a time-sensitive issue. The hospital walks into your room at 9:30 in the morning and say, oh, great news, we're releasing you today. Here's your choices. And they give you a piece of paper, and the hospitals can't say where they're going to send you, but they'll give you a sheet of paper. And in virtually every hospital, Waveny has become sort of the Switzerland, or independent of any hospital, and it's probably the most recommended rehab facility out there. But because of that, that just adds to the number of people calling, and there's just not enough capacity. So, Scott.
I imagine that the short-term rehab rooms are also better economically. Can you talk about the economics of the short-term rehab?
Yeah, so healthcare, all I can say is the payer mix and the reimbursement rates for healthcare is insane. As any of you know, if you look at your own statements from insurance, you see what a hospital or a doctor bills, and then usually you see what your insurance company, if you're lucky enough to have full coverage, what the insurance company pays, and the rest of it is vapor. It just disappears. So with a facility like Waveny, there's some private pay where people are just paying for services. There's a lot of private insurance. If you're fortunate enough to have long-term care policy or other that could contribute towards your stay. Short-term rehab is paid mostly through regular insurance. So, and short-term rehab, we have high school students once in a while that'll be taking advantage of that. This is not just seniors, but it's all ages, all age groups. Medicare pays probably 60 to 70% of the normal rate, and Medicaid pays probably 25%. So when you get into that long-term care, there's residents there that drop down to Medicaid, and the reimbursement is not sufficient to cover even the basic costs, but you take what you can get. So in the medical world, you're taking whatever you can get. So the short-term rehab rooms from a financial standpoint for Waveny's long-term viability are the most fluid and probably the best, right now, best reimbursement rates. The thing about reimbursements is as soon as you think you've got reimbursements figured out, they change the rules, and every 2 or 3 years, there's like a groundswell of new regulations and changes. So that's a crazy part of the business.
I'm sorry,
Dave.
what did you say the total cost of the project?
Total cost of the project, all in with the technology, beds, furnishings, and everything, is going to be about round numbers, $40 million.
Have you guys, I know it's a little bit off topic, what's going on with the New Canaan Inn? Are you ever thinking about upgrading that or renovating
So,
that? Or,
that's a great question. We actually, there's no question that the inn on Owen Oak Ridge is been a great home for a lot of seniors. It was built at a time when senior independent living was thought to be a little apartment the size of a room at a old Howard Johnson's old Hojo hotel. I think basically, if you think of a box with 4 walls, that was about it. So what's happened when the inn was built, it was I think like 48 rooms, and over time a bunch of those have been combined and a door put in between to create at least 2 rooms. So there's a bedroom and a sitting room. So the population's down to about 31 right now, and our board has. We set up a task force to study the physical building, and we're in the process of evaluating what capital expenses need to happen there. Truth be told, if I would love to see us be really successful with this capital campaign, and if we could raise an extra $1 million or $2 million from this campaign, it would definitely go towards the inn. We're going to spend money at the inn regardless, but we want to make sure that it's protected and working for the next bunch of years. So, yeah, there's some. We have to install. One of the challenges at the inn, it was a building built. It has 1 elevator, and about a year and a half ago, that elevator went down.
No.
So, and it was before a holiday weekend. So, the first big capital investment there is to add a second elevator. So that's definitely going to be happening. So, Jane.
If I could just build on the point Leo was talking about in terms of Waveny is a nonprofit, thank goodness. Having worked in senior living for